G'day, it's Chris. Welcome back to the shed. This is Flat Tank Journey and my little Velocette. It's back from the powder coaters, and if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll have already seen that. And that's just Flat Tank Journey on those particular platforms. It's a little bit dusty and it's a little bit greasy. Look, you've seen me show you this thing, pull it apart, rebuild it, and then pull it apart again. So I didn't bother going through the intricacies of putting the front end together. It was a little bit fiddly and a little bit of a pain in the bum. I did put bearings into the bearing cups. They took 22 bearings each cup, 3/16, greased them and put it back in. I got all the hardware back on and everything. I've got to buy some grease nipples, but everything's gone back together really well. I've got the old front wheel back in because that's the way it's going to stay. The rear stand went back on, so we got some stability. I'm going to crack on now and do something about looking for this bolt and getting these pieces in order, because this could look good. This could actually be the exciting bit. Have a little quick look at this bit first. Here we go. Front end. Now, these have actually got a lick of nickel still left on them. You can see it on the ends of the bolts, shafts, whatever you want to call those things. The nuts, I believe the nuts and the shafts are actually original. And this is the right-handed thread side. And these arms on the back are marked right hand or RH. And the others are marked left hand. Mr. Velocette was very, very kind to me. So that looks really good. The top race or the top nut cleaned up pretty well and bearings went in, and I'm really happy with how all that looks. Let's move around the other side of the bike. You can see the brackets and the rear stand, and that looks good. Other side of the bike now, this was the amazing bit. When I cleaned these up, I hope you can see it, there's an L stamped into the nut for the left-handed nut. Really, really lovely. They've still got a bit of nickel on them. All four of those nuts have a little L stamped into them. And there's the other one. And the L's all the same. And it's as clear as day. So I'm going to call those original fittings. Really pleased with them. I'm just snugging up, well, just tightening up, I suppose, these, what are now bolts, on this engine mount / footrest brake pedal mount. It actually looks pretty good. I don't know whether you saw in the previous episode, you can go back and have a look if you want, or not if you don't want, doesn't matter, that I turned the studs into bolts by welding nuts onto them. And then I actually went to the trouble of painting them, and I let them dry for several days. I actually painted the washers to go underneath them, hoping that more and more and more of it would just disappear. And it pretty much has. Let me just snip up these front engine mount thing. Sorry, head's not really good today. Let me tighten up these engine mounts just a little bit so that the nuts stay on. We don't lose them. And I'll show you this, this plate. I'm actually pretty pleased. I hope when I get the footrest onto it that it's almost disappeared. Looks good. There we go. Now you can't really see the heads of those bolts unless I come right in at them and show them to you. Now that's just paint. I suppose I could have got them powdered, but I didn't. The bracket itself is powdered. Around the other side, and we'll just walk around. Let's not get fussy. Well, yes, the nuts stick out like the proverbials. I'm going to grab the flywheel though, and I hope that when the flywheel's on, we get a much different look at those. Let me grab a flywheel. Well, didn't help a super amount. I was hoping that more of it would disappear, but it didn't. It is what it is. I'm actually showing you this as I'm working on it. I hadn't seen it with the flywheel on before. It's going to look all right. I could paint the nuts, but I don't think I need to. They're there, they are what they are. That's possibly the longest tighten up on the whole bike. That looks super. Rightio, rear guard, it looks super. I really like it. Just a black enamel rattle can. And if somebody brought up, you know, exposure to sunlight and UV rays and it'll chalk over and all of that, and perhaps, you know, seeing I'd gone to this much trouble, I should have acryliced it and cleared it and done all that. And yeah, probably. But you know what? The one-shot wonder out of a rattle can for what this bike's going to end up, a little bit of a display coin, it looks fabulous. And, you know, I think I spent $16 or $17 on a can of paint, did 2 cards, super easy. I've got the brake pedal on, and it looks good too. I'll bring you around this side, and you can have a little look. Here's the brake pedal. Those dual locking nuts. And the brake pedal looks good. Now, I did find a photograph recently where the brake pedal is attached to the footrest mount. And that makes a lot of sense, except the footrest mount is like up here somewhere. So this portion of the pedal is about there. So that wasn't realistic for me, and shows that the footrests, original ones, mount differently than what I've got. It's a shame, but I don't think it's the end of the world. If I get original footboards, I will change that whole setup of the engine mount plates and all of that. I don't know whether I ever will, and when I made this, I just gave myself no chance of finding original footboards. So for now, that's how it's going to be. And you know what? I can sort of live with it. I think it's going to look good. Let's push on. I'll just finish wire brushing off what I believe might be the original collar bolt. It's got that little pin in it that goes into the slot just there somewhere, there, to stop it from turning. And then it's got an unusual nut that goes on the other side with a very flat back and a rounded over front edge. Oh, and I painted the bars, as you can see. Now, I don't know whether I actually like them. I don't think I've ever had black bars on a bike before. Oh, I had a S7 Sunbeam that had the original bars still on it. So I have. I believe these are meant to be black. I painted them. They fit really good. Had a friend that is an engineer weld these up in his shop and clean them up, and then I cleaned them up. Now they're quite pitted in places and they're beaten up, but you know what? They're original bars, and I think I can live with them. They don't look super. In a bit, I'll get it down and show it to you. But, you know, bars in, neck tightens up. Remember I re-necked these because they were the wrong size. Now we've got a cleaned up nut, cleaned up bolts. It looks really good. Super. Now, I think I've got that on the right way. I always forget which end is which. And I'm not sure. But it don't look too bad for now. Just pop that brake plate back on. I've got the brake actuation mechanism back in and the pivot point for the brake shoes. And somewhere I've actually got the brake shoes. Just can't lay my hands on those at the minute, which is a bit of a bugger. Now, won't be surprised if powder hasn't held this out a little bit. No, hasn't. I lied. There we go, that's where it belongs. Now I do need to build the space up for this wheel to get it just in the right place. But, you know, I think that's for another day. I don't think I'm worrying about that today. That's not too bad. Spins up, works well. That goes round to there. I still haven't actually worked out how the brake plate attaches to the frame, but it looks pretty good. I'm going to get the barrel back on and set everything in place. One of the difficult things about working over two sites and moving bike parts around is that you misplace them. I'm not saying I've lost the nuts off the barrel, but I've misplaced them. I'm reasonably confident they're 5/16, and I don't know why they wouldn't be cycle thread, although they're putting up a little fight. So let me remove the barrel and check properly in case they're BSF, which should be a different thread and a different pitch. So weirdly, you've got to take the plug out to get the barrel off. And indeed, they don't look like cycle thread. Nope. There's something else. Let's look further afield. Turned out to be really frustrating. I've had a little bit of a hunt round, and I reckon they're 5/16 Whitworth. They're certainly not cycle thread, so they're too coarse. So I need to find the original nuts. Frustrating. In the meantime, as soon as I put the spark plug in, the barrel won't fall off. So that's a good result. I suspect they're with the side cover, and that's in my other shed. Hard to see, but, you know, bike's looking good. Parts back together, that's the main thing, because that's how you lose bits. I've got to get a crack on and find some motivation to work on the tank. I haven't put the liner kit through it yet, although the liner kit is here. It's really a 2-day process, and I can't quite find the energy just at the minute. I'll have to make a new nut for that shaft that goes across to hold the footboard, and I'll have to do something about the tank, and get on with the rest of it. The mudguard stays and a few bits and pieces are off getting nickel plated. The bars, well, they look okay, but they are black. This side, everything looks good. Even the ends of the nuts, they look good. Wheels, well, they are what they are. That's what I've managed to get done in the last little while. It's been good, I suppose. Today's work, especially getting everything back together. So the mudguard stays that I made and the fuel cap are off getting nickel plated, but not much else. I've decided to leave everything else alone. The expense of it is just too high. The footboards could have done with a blast, and I really should have got them solder blasted while I was at the blasters and the powder coaters. And I think they'd have cleaned up $1 million. I'm going to get all the engine parts back together and start looking at that. But I don't know that we're going much further. The tank, well, I've got a liner kit and I need to do something about finding the motivation to get on with it. In the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the little Velo. I think it's going to look really special. When will I finish it? No idea. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, send me an email. Cheers. Have a good one.